ashore and afloat before transitioning to a successful civilian career in high tech. Eventually seeking more independence and embarking, he bought and grew a flooring franchise during the Great Recession, running it successfully for 2 years before selling it in 2019. Now, as with the franchise consulting company, he helps you, fellow veterans, explore franchise opportunities that leverage your skills, provide a structured path to business ownership, and even offers his free to help. He's passionate about supporting no-cost consultations and veteran-focused. Share his transition experience and insights on how franchising could be a great next step. Welcome, Steve. Did I get it right that time?
Well, you didn't put me in the army this time, so I guess you did okay.
I brought you up like 2 ticks right there.
Yeah. It's a low bar though. I mean, I gotta admit that. So thank you for that kind introduction. Um, first off, I'm using a new slide deck. Let me share what I've got, and if you would just um, confirm you can see the complete screen there.
It's working.
Okay,
Yep, I got Earth.
cool. So what I've done in the past is I've just given a quick introduction, and then what I'll do is I'll dive into some examples so we can put some real thoughts into this, or study some real examples. So Ernie got my name right. My name is Steve Taylor. I've been doing this brokering for about 8 years. And this is really important when I work with my clients to understand what their why is. Let me tell you what my why is. I served in the Navy because I thought I could make a difference. I was kind of a slow learner, I guess, because it took me a year or two before I figured out I wasn't going to be able to do anything or change anything. But as a business owner, I really feel I changed people's lives and made an impact in my community. I did a lot of the things I always wanted to do in the military that I never had the opportunity to, and that was to change the world. My vision is to put 10,000 new business owners on the street. I happen to believe the franchise model and veterans are like peanut butter and chocolate, right? They go together beautifully because what you have in the typical veteran is they leave the service with a whole lot of soft skills. And what you have with the franchise is a whole bunch of companies that are seeking people with soft skills, but not particularly technical skills. And by that, I mean, for a painting franchise, for example, they're not looking for expert painters. They will teach you how to do painting. And that applies almost universally. I would say 99% universally. So what I do is I work with my clients. I help develop what their why is. Why do they want to do this? And we go from there. What do you bring? Resources. I mean, it's pretty obvious. We're constrained by how much money you have to invest, but sometimes a little bit goes a long way. And it's worthwhile to have the conversation because there are low cost options. I just was talking to a company yesterday, very viable brand that is all in is well below $20,000. So many times a credit card will cover that type of thing. So, but we'll get into that in our consultations if you decide to reach out. And let me just start going through the slides. So again, this is just a little bit of me. I can forward most of this information, but what's most important is if you want to reach out to me, reach out to Ernie, or just go to my website, bravozulupartners.com. So I just want to go over real quickly what services I offer. Then I'm going to try and zoom through some options and then Ernie, I've got a half hour. Is that correct?
Up to an hour if you got it.
Okay.
We don't
Okay.
have
Well,
to
it's
push. When you're good.
okay. Well, my objective is not death by PowerPoint, but what I want to do is give you some food for thought and maybe intrigue uh, you to the point where you want to talk more about this. But I always like to say right up front, this isn't for everybody. I get it. I don't treat it like it is. My objective throughout this process is to get you to a point of confidence, and by that I mean I either want you to confidently be able to state, yeah, I think this is a good thing for me, or no, it's not a good thing, or hey, Steve, can you give me a call in a year or two? And all those are perfectly valid options. If we reach that point, if we work together and reach that point, I feel like I'm successful. There is no cost to you for my services, and I get paid in the back end like a real estate broker or a headhunter, for example. So my objective again is to get you that point of confidence. I'm not here to be. I'm trying to think. In the Navy, I'm not going to be that leading petty officer that drags you out of the rack every morning and tells you get up, get your pants on, and start chipping paint. That's not my role. That's not how I pretend it is. It's about educating and uncovering options that are valuable to you or exciting to you. So I'm sorry. Okay, this is
Oh, your book.
yeah, it should be the book. There we go. You see the book?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is available. You can contact me directly. You can go to bravozulupartners.com. It's a short book. It's kind of condensed wisdom. There's not a lot of fluff in there, but it's going to walk you through, starting with why I think it's a compelling opportunity for a lot of veterans, and then quickly go into some of the meat. I've read quite a few books. I like to think in 40 pages, this tells you everything you need to know. In most books, there are 200-300 pages. So if you like to read, this isn't the one for you. This is closer to an operations manual than it is.
The Cliff's Notes.
Yeah. Hey, thank you. Very good. So resources, a big part of what I do is I get people or get you in front of people that are really helpful. And one of the things I always advise is to talk to an attorney, particularly those with franchise experience. I just want to point out, Dustin is a great guy, despite being a West Point graduate and a football player. He left the artillery and became an attorney. He's a very successful attorney now. He loves working with vets, as I do, and he has substantial business experience. Houston Barnes, another great guy, not a veteran, but that's what he does all day, every day. He reviews franchise documents. Both of those are excellent people. Wendy is a consultant, helps you strategize your finances for optimizing for a franchise type purchase. One thing a lot of people don't realize, if you have any savings plans, any like a thrift savings plan, that sort of thing, those can be leveraged in a tax advantage way to help finance a business. So I don't pretend to be an expert on things financial, but she certainly is, and we've been working together long enough that she's curated quite a bit of information and opportunities, particularly for veterans. Now, Now I'm going to get into some really boring stuff real quick, and I just want to point out a couple things. So process. There are two things I want every client I have to know. Is the first one is I'm working with you up here at the beginning of step one or phase one. Okay, you're not going to be ready uh, to talk about purchasing until step six. I am not the guy that's going to be able to answer every single question you have. My point is, there's going to be a whole bunch of time, probably a minimum of a month, and more likely 2 or 3, from phase one to phase six. So at any point, if you get discouraged talking to me because I can't answer all your questions, you're going to get the opportunity to talk to a whole bunch of people. This is not buy today, get one tomorrow, or buy one, get two free, that type of thing. It's not. This is a very serious purchase. It takes consideration. It takes thoughtfulness. It takes talking and mulling things over in your mind. And in fact, I counsel my all my clients. You know, if you ever feel pressure, that's a red flag. You should never feel pressure in this whole process. Certainly not with me. And you know, there may be a situation, let's just give you an example where there may be a little pressure. Let's say you're looking at a certain territory. You've always wanted to move back to St. Cloud, Minnesota, or, you know, whatever. You know, let me pick on my home state, you know, Kalinga, California. If you've ever been there, you'd know how laughable that is. But there's only one territory there. And you're jonesing for that. Yeah, that's what you want. And they call you up and say, you know, we've got another guy that wants that same territory. You need to make a decision. That's the type of pressure you'll get. You'll never, you know, it's a whole different sales experience, very professional experience. The other thing I just want to point out is always have a process in mind, and this is something I coach you through.
Is there a step in here where you see more often than not people get confused or lost or need like the extra help, like the speed bump step?
You know what I've seen is like they don't know how to answer or ask a question, or they think, you know, is it appropriate for me to ask this or that? And I always say it's always appropriate to ask any question. You will never know the answer, even if it's I can't answer that unless you ask it. But I mean, that's probably the most consistent question. Like, how do I get from here to there?
You
Those
just
type
don't
of
know what you
questions.
don't know.
Right, right. But yeah, I would say, one other thing I'll just point out, and you'll hear this a lot from me, is we don't work with companies that don't encourage and they don't encourage their potential franchisees to talk to actual franchisees.
Yeah.
So that's probably the most critical step in this whole thing. I mean, I think we'd all agree in the military I want to choose my words maybe a little carefully, but we have finely attuned bullshit sensors. How's
Yes,
that?
we do.
And you can spot a fake from a mile away. That's one of my superpowers. And there are really good salespeople in this industry. Let me tell you, there are really good salespeople. But when you talk to franchise owners, let me tell you, you talk to 6 different franchise owners, you're going to get 6 different takes on the same question, and you'll be able to quickly figure out which are the authentic people and which are not. So that's, and again, I'll just say this and I'll leave the topic, but validation is most critical, and working with franchise owners is the most critical. There are disclosure documents, there are all sorts of things, they're written by attorneys. And I'm not going to say they're dishonest. What I am going to say is they're written by attorneys for attorneys. Um, yeah,
Legalese.
yeah, exactly right. And it's not, and it's not bad. It's just, it's important um, to go in with your eyes wide open, whatever you do, but particularly when you're talking about something as significant of that as this.
I'm
So,
guessing you probably had a few conversations where somebody was hot to trot for one, and you had to bring him back down to earth and say, dude, no.
yeah, typically well, I wouldn't say typically, but maybe a quarter of my clients, they come in, they say, um, I've always wanted a pick something, a burger joint, right? And that's great, but let's, figure out why. Why do you want a burger joint? Well, I love burgers. Okay, well, that's reasonable. Do you like cooking? Oh, I love cooking burgers. Um, well, do you like working with 16 to 18-year-olds? Oh, no, I don't like kids. Do you like staying up until 11, 12 every night? Well, no, I did that in the military. I don't want to do it now. Okay. And you start peeling back the layers and people realize, hey, maybe the burger thing isn't the right thing for me. Or you start presenting different options. Hey, you love burger. What about butcher shop? You know, doing premium. So you're not cooking and maybe you have a few more high skilled people in there and a little less, grease traps and, you know, um,
Grease
that
traps
sort
and
of thing.
teen drama.
Right, right, right. Oh, okay. You know, so that's kind of what I do. I mean, more likely, I mean, that's maybe a quarter of my clients. Much more prevalent. People come to me and say, "Steve, I don't know what I want to do. I just don't want to be digging a foxhole or what do Air Force do, going into another Marriott or whatever it is."
Hey, the
Uh,
rough wasn't properly treated. The greens suck.
Yeah, the yeah, room service was late again last night. That sort of stuff. So that's all kidding aside. That type of thing is much more prevalent. My clients are very open minded and open to new adventures, really, and it's one of the reasons I really enjoy working with veterans because most of us recognize we have a lot of skills. We've accomplished something. I mean, one more example. You got me going, Ernie. But I'm the father of twins, and people would ask me, or that they'd say, "What prepared you to be the father of the twins? Did you grow up with twins? Did you know twin? This that." And I would say this a little funny, but there's a serious undertone to this. The thing that prepared me most for being the father of a twin was staying up all night on a bridge watch and not killing anything. And um, and if you don't realize it, uh, people today do not stay up all night by choice. And in fact, if they're not in the military, I would say, unless they're using illegal substances or maybe other substances, they're not going to stay up all night. That is a skill to be able to stay focused for long periods of time, sleep deprived, and that sort of thing. And that's a transferable skill because I'll tell you, you're going to be in pressure as a business owner like no employee would ever be. But the ability to maintain that focus and see something through to the end is a transferable skill and will set you above your peers. I keep saying one more thing, but I've got one client company. It's a staffing company, and they found that their veterans, they have about a quarter of their franchise owners are veterans, and on average, they have twice the revenue as their non-veteran veteran employee or franchisees. That is, I don't know of many companies that measure that number, but I would say that's not far off overall. One out of every seven franchise owners is a veteran. So, um, bottom line, don't ever let anyone tell you you don't have the skills to be a business owner. You may not have the money, you may not have the time or the desire, but I would say 9 out of 10 veterans have the ability to manage a business. Ernie, you got some good questions there. Keep it up.
Hey, every now and then I pop out with something. So, I mean, so kind of like what skills from your military background do you feel like transferred the best from your time in the Navy to doing this kind of work in franchise? I mean, personally for you, because you're doing something a little different.
Yeah, um, that's a good question. I think so. So a little bit more about me. I worked in industry. I rolled out. My last assignment was in the Bay Area, San Francisco area. Went into high tech, and yeah, I'll just be honest. I never felt. I always felt like it was a little bit of a square peg trying to fit in a round hole. I had some really good successes and some less than successful type opportunities, but at the end of the day, um, back right during the Great Recession, I got the opportunity to go start a business, and I had a very supportive wife and a very encouraging father, and and I started a business that turned out to be a franchise, right? And so what helped me? Um, the ability to work towards a common good or seek out the win-win situation. So not always being out for myself only, taking care of my employees. One of the things I'll tell you I did, and this is directly from the military, um, when we were really tiny and we couldn't afford a custodian, I cleaned the toilets every week, and I made sure my employees saw that. Not because I
Mhm.
wanted them to think any better of me, but because I wanted them to understand that I didn't think there was anything beneath me. And I never once had an employee say, that's not me. Yeah. So, I mean, that's certainly something I directly took from the military. Um,
I'm not going to ask you to do anything I haven't done a million times.
exactly right.
Mhm.
And yeah. And yeah. I'm just, there are other examples which are probably more appropriate for a smaller group, but there's drama. I mean, it was a contract. I was a flooring contractor, and there are tough things. If you have kids, little kids have small problems. Well, big kids have very big and significant problems.
Yeah.
Um, I,
Why a flooring company?
um, hmm, uh, you know, couple things. I enjoy working with my hands. I enjoy doing home projects, that sort of thing. So that appealed to me. I know when I started looking at it, I started with a bucket of 7 different options. I knew this was one thing I didn't want to do, but I ended up doing it. I liked the business, the franchisor. I really enjoyed. Um, Yeah. The flip side, the kind of the dark side, and kind of what informs me now is I was working with someone like me who only showed me home services type franchises, and I just assumed this wasn't for me, or I should say anything but home service franchise was for me. So in retrospect, I mean, during my time as a business owner, I more and more gravitated towards, let's say, business to business, so working with other businesses as opposed to consumers. And I love that. I didn't realize I didn't have an affinity um, for the consumer side of the business and had more of an affinity for the business, but I was never given an option. And I guess bigger picture, that's not. I guess it is one of the reasons why I do what I do now, because I want to give people a full perspective, not just what I think they want to do, but really work hard to determine the best fit for them.
So what was the biggest surprise through that whole process? I mean, you ran the flooring business for several years, and then was it 19 you sold it? Were you expecting to do that? Was it your goal to sell it and then move on, or was it, oh, I can't pass that up?
No, that's a great question. I would say, during the business, I mean, one of the things I was told, and I was surprised by it, the highs are really high. Like when you make a good sale, I'll tell you, especially when I was new, that was huge. And when I didn't, when I lost business or that type, it was very low. So the emotional aspect was a little dramatic early on for me, but you learn, you adapt, right? So I was presented with this opportunity back in 1919 or 1919.
Holy cow!
Yeah,
I got out of World
I
War One,
I look pretty good for yeah,
post-centenarian.
yeah. Uh, the no, I guy who sold me the franchise, we were always friends, and he gave me a call out of the blue and said, "Hey, I started this new company," and I'm like, what's that?" And he's like, "Well, I've got a trade show down Santa Clara, which is 45 minutes, right across from where the Super Bowl was this past weekend. Why don't you come down and see what I do, and we can go from there." I'm like, "Oh, that sounds great." I had no idea what he did, but quickly found out. I started thinking about it. I thought, that's kind of like all the stuff I like doing, helping people, which is what I really did. I didn't really like installing floors or doing estimates or that part. But what I really liked was finding problems and fixing them. So within 2 weeks, I'd listed my business for sale. Started working kind of part-time for the company, or I was a part-time partner, I guess. And then I went in, once I sold the business, in about 6 months, I dove in full bore, never looked back.
Good stuff. So, like, when evaluating franchises, like, what are the most essential factors, like that in vets in particular should weigh? Is it like the upfront capital, the risk, how to assess the brand's track record? What do you think is, hey, here's number one on your list?
Yeah, there's a tool I put together is something, it's called a pew chart. And I don't know if any of you know what that does, or what it is. I used it in high-tech project management. There's a primary tool I use for multi-million-dollar projects. And essentially what it does, it allows you to start with a series of criteria, weight each of them, and then just kind of as you work through, does it meet the criteria or it does not? It's a way to make ultimately a very subjective type decision a little more objective. If you're looking at 3 different businesses, for example, you can start seeing which ones are dropping out and which ones are rising to the top very quickly. And that's personal to everybody. I may be very interested in training programs, and someone else is very interested in being able to golf Wednesday and Friday evenings, or that type of thing. So it depends on each individual.
Good stuff.
Yeah. I was thinking I could go show some real examples real quick, and
Go for it. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we want to see.
So first off, this is something we developed together, business criteria. I'm not going to get too much into that, but I just wanted to show you. So I actually borrowed this from a presentation I did to a young man, a guy out of the Navy, I want to say he was a chief. He was a submariner, so an E-7. And when I was in the Navy, all the chiefs were old grizzly and all this. This guy looks very young. He's in his mid 30s, and I think he made chief in under 10 years. But
Dang.
yeah, I never did that. Well, I wouldn't have because I wasn't enlisted. But anyways, so I'm just going to go real quick through this. So Blue Moon Estate Sales, it's exactly what it is. It's selling people's stuff. And what this company does, you're paying for a between 57 113 to get this business going, and that includes everything you need to get this going. This includes the franchise fee, any real estate, any vehicles, all that. So there's a range, and I will certainly go into that more detail when we if we get to this point. Something I want to point out about this, estate sales and Blue Moon is not all about selling dead people stuff. About 80% of their clients are still alive. They just want to downsize. What you do is you go in, or your employees go in, you price everything. The franchise helps you do that. They have an application to allow you to price everything from linens to automobiles and antiques. They'll help you price everything. And then the way you market yourself to the clients is you don't pay me anything other than a cut of the sale. So you price everything, you man the sale when it occurs, you collect revenue, and then you give it to the owner. That's what it's about. It's important that you can talk to a real estate agent. They're going to be great referral partners. Certainly Blue Moon Estate Sales they're going to coach you in that. They're going to train you through the whole process. Typically there's online part of training, then in-person training. So that's the first one.
Well, the market's is there too, because the boomers. I mean, there's just like the healthcare side of it. They got to get rid of all their shit.
Right, exactly right. Mr. Cappuccino, you're essentially purchasing cappuccino machines and then you're leasing them to restaurants, and you're leasing them by cup. So, there are a lot of restaurants that could sell coffee that don't, and for them, you're putting a machine in their place, in their restaurant. You're charging them, let's say, $1 a cup for a espresso or a latte, that sort of thing. They're turning around selling to clients for $5. And you're making a good profit at that price point. And again, I don't take that with a grain of salt. I don't know if it's $1 or $2, but it's good stuff. I've gotten to know this business pretty well. There are a lot of the trade shows I'm at, and the owner always feeds me full of coffee, probably because he knows I'll talk to people like you, right?
Especially when you get jittery and caffeinated.
Yeah, exactly. But great guy. You're looking at a little higher price tag for something like that. But here's the deal. You're purchasing the equipment on time, and then you're placing it in the restaurant, which is paying you over a long period of time. So, and if they don't sell enough coffee, you go in, you put it somewhere else. That is so. That's a great option. You're servicing the machine every week or two, depending on their volume, and very, very straightforward. It's something like if you had another job, I would think you could do this as well. It might serve you well to start out doing this full time, or hiring some of them full time. But as you place those machines, your time commitment's going to go down significantly. Next one is Roman restrooms. I just want to point this out. I missed I missed this digit. So the investment range is 178 to about $532,000.
Yeah, I was thinking
Uh,
it's dirt cheap.
what's that?
I was thinking, I was like, dang, that's dirt cheap for nice bathrooms.
Yeah. No, this is a really cool concept. I like this. Uh, there's I'm trying to again. I'm going to choose my words even more carefully, but there's gold in that brown, right?
Yeah.
These are very
I've seen
nice.
these things. They're
What's that?
yeah, that's I've seen these things like we were like one of those farm barn weddings or something. They pulled up. It was like, hey, this is way better than the old porta potty.
Yeah, yeah. No, these are incredible. Hot and cold running water, air conditioning, heat. Roman Restrooms actually has, um, gosh darn it, um, internet, Starlink integrated into it, and and I'm thinking I'm talking again. Great owners. I like. Um,
Yeah,
isn't
spend a
that
little more
gonna
time
ruin
in
the
there.
throughput? Aren't And I'm thinking, you know, taking a break in the restroom. But what it is they go to these places like high end venues, like for weddings, for example, and all the bridesmaids want to upload to Instagram
Mm.
and that sort of thing. And it's an upcharge, uh, but if you're having a barn wedding, how many people have their barn wired for Wi-Fi, right? I mean, it happens, sure, but why not have your your restroom, uh, with the network going? So next one, Schoolie Mitchell. This is a business. You're not selling anything. What you're doing is you're giving people the opportunity, or businesses the opportunity to save money. So what you're doing there is you're going into businesses and you're saying, "Hey, I'm not going to charge you anything, but let me see your accounts payable, and any money I can save you, um, I get to keep half of it, and you get to keep half of it."
Mm.
And what what smaller, medium-sized business would not like that, right? Um, I mean, my wife is the CFO of about a $50 million business. They don't have a cost accountant. They don't have someone look into the bills. With Schoolie Mitchell, they have a whole team of accountants in a back office somewhere that have expertise in certain segments like utilities or telecom or garbage removal, that sort of thing. They'll analyze the bill and they'll tell you where the savings are. And then all you're doing is you're making those connections and then you're delivering the results. Uh, Bottom line.
So you
Very,
just
very straightforward. Again, it's a pretty low level of investment. What you're paying for is the way to do business and the relationships to be successful. Um, and then finally, Wild Bill's Craft Beverage. This is a very veteran-centric business. They do very, very high-end shows like Comic-Cons and car shows, that sort of thing. Selling great soda, but really where they make their money is selling the commemorative mugs. And they
oh.
should they did. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's like that. I just said, huh, that's interesting. That like
What's
different
that?
tack.
Yeah, they sent me a mug. I've got several mugs, um, but the one they had one that they did at Sturgis, and it's this pewter mug with leather and tassels and all what you'd expect to see at a Sturgis bike rally, right? They sold it for $120. They're
Yeah, they're not cheap.
Yeah, the cost on that I think was around 20, and they sold 6 to 700 in the week long rally. So do the math on that.
That's true.
Um, yeah, that's not a bad day's work, right?
Yeah,
So
because even their cheap ones are like 50 or $60.
yeah, totally. Yeah. Um, the other thing I'd just like to point out over here is most of these have a veterans discount of some sort. Um, Blue Moon Estates, the reason it says zero is I don't know what it is, but all of these are they're looking for veterans. They're incentivizing veterans, and those are the brands I gravitate to.
Well, yeah. Yeah, maybe we
Okay,
could take advantage of it.
yeah. So if you go through here, I'm not going to go by through
Oh,
this, but just I have a lot more information in here. Um,
would you be able to drop this into the chat so people could look at it later?
yeah, absolutely. Uh, let me see. So yeah, I would just say please don't contact these businesses directly. If you want
Oh,
more
yeah, no.
information, reach out to me. Um, but better that, have at it.
Yeah, I
Uh,
never know where the good information. Can you talk about your book too? Or you did talk about it, but where to get it?
yeah, where, um,
Because that's a good
yeah,
resource.
yeah, I would, go to bravozulupartners.com or reach out to me directly. Um, Either one's fine. Um, there's also, you can sign up for a newsletter. I send out a weekly newsletter. It's kind of combinations of, there's some inspirational stuff, there's promotional, there's, um, boy, humorous, or what I think is humorous. Um, but it's how I keep in touch with people, right? Um, I send it to a few thousand people, and it's hard to make a few thousand phone calls even every other week, right?
Not without a marketing or telemarketing department.
Yeah. So
Hey, nobody
yeah,
wants that. Hey, can you share any like anonymous veteran stories where you're like, hey, one of those ones that's just the feel good, like I met this guy, I was down to $50 and now here he is. Or hey, she got in at the last minute and bam.
yeah. I would Schoolie Mitchell's a good story. I was working with a guy. He'd been an aviation machinist mate in the Navy, and no, aviation bosun's mate. So those are the guys who drag chains across the flight decks. I don't know if there are any there. They're the guys who drag the chains across, and their knuckles scrape as they drag it across the flight deck, and they damage the flight deck with their knuckles. So, anyways, long story short,
Dragon Knuckles.
he he had been doing software sales for a few years, been very successful, and was used to working in the C-suite and the high levels, but he could no longer. It's kind of a young man's game in software sales. You don't meet a lot of older software sales guys, but
Makes sense.
so this guy pivoted and kind of leveraged his experience in business to become, to do this. And last we talked, he was doing great. I mean, just doing awesome. Most of his leads come off of LinkedIn, so
Huh.
he has a couple people working for him doing LinkedIn, and he couldn't be happier.
If you could send me his information, maybe I could reach out and see if he wants to come in and talk about his journey as well.
Okay, well, let's talk about that. Okay,
Yeah, offline. Yeah.
the let's see. I'm just trying to think of other people. One guy had been he'd been a machinist mate in the Navy, and he had been working at a recycling plant. He was general manager of a recycling plant, and he started a. In fact, I just got a text from him a few weeks ago. Um, a business that details high-end jet airplanes. Okay,
Ooh.
so let me tell you, to wax a jet airplane, that's very expensive.
I
Um,
bet. I don't think
but
you're picking up the Simonize at AutoZone there.
right, my point is these guys aren't, complaining about, $2,000 to have shiny wings. This $10 to $50 million plus investment. You also, there's some minor maintenance like on de-icing boots and that sort of thing. And then this guy's in Texas. There are enhanced cleaning requirements for planes when they come back from overseas, like Mexico, for example. So he's picking up all this business, putting together a crew and just providing good service. And he says, he was a nuke in the Navy, nuke machinist mate. He's like, this is completely analogous. I had checklists for everything, and now I have checklists for cleaning planes. And oh, by the way, I get paid a buttload more to clean planes than I ever did.
Yeah, I
Uh,
didn't get paid that well to clean planes when I was in.
yeah, I was gonna say what
I
you're.
just got filthy.
Yeah, well, you're happy if there's Windex in the bottle, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Well, especially when you're cleaning a gun bay on an A10, there's no good way to do that without becoming a hot mess.
Yeah. Last I looked, most of the planes he's cleaning don't have guns.
Yeah, it's good.
Um, yeah, it's the little stuff.
It's just the little differences and details. But kind of we're up against the clock. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share, Steve?
No, I'd like to talk to anyone who wants to talk, even if even you don't see this as a valid option. Um, my approach is very service oriented.
Hmm.
I genuinely enjoy talking to people, and I'm happy to talk about anything really. If I can't help them with a franchise, I can, there are plenty of resources I have, and a very, very large network. And I guess the final thought I would say is when I got out of the Navy, if I had a dime for every veteran that offered me a cup of coffee, a beer, or lunch, time on the phone, I would probably be retired now. And I very sincerely want to pay that forward. And this is an exciting opportunity, pivoting from the military to whatever. And I would just encourage you to reach out because there are a whole lot more people like me than there are, negative Nellies out there. So good luck.
That's awesome. Hey, thanks, Steve. Sorry. Steve Taylor, BravoZulu Partners. Once again, thank you for coming on. I've dropped your LinkedIn, your franchise, your website, and all that stuff into the chat. So, folks, go ahead, hit them up, make that contact, ask those questions, because if you don't get into a franchise, you can learn something very important down the line.
Yeah, do you want me to upload this real quick on the mess
Yeah,
on the chat? Okay.
yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you.
Okay, I'll do that, but I'll jump. I'll take my picture off so it's
I
not distracting.
don't want to keep looking at that handsome devil.
Oh, stop.
Stop it.
You're too kind. Take care. Good luck,
See you,
everyone.
brother.